Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week, we have with us Dov Tsal. Hi, Dov. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
So, Dov is a versatile Agile coach, Scrum Master, change agent, and enabler, helping companies, teams, and individuals to make an impact. He's also the creator of Meeting Spicer, a coaching tool to hack meeting culture, and the co-creator of the Agile Tao Podcast about understanding agility through the Taoist prism. So, Dov, take a minute. Tell us a little bit more about yourself after that short bio, and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Yeah, so in fact, you said it all. Currently, in fact, the two things that you said, which is the Meeting Spicer and the Agile Tao, are sort of intertwined things that are connected to what I'm doing today, which is to help, I think, emergence in organizations, in teams. So one is through meetings, but the other one is through something larger, which is the Taoist mindset, which for me is the root of the Agile mindset that we talk about. In how did I become a Scrum Master? I worked in a company, and I was a team lead of a development team in Israel, and I moved to France. And my condition to work in France was that I want to stop being a manager because I hate every minute of it. So I said, I would love to help you integrate another team, but my condition is that I'll be a hands-on developer. And they said, okay. And about 2 months after I got there, our company, which was bought by another company, got into some strange thing, all the processes that the companies take. Now we are ETIL, now we're not ETIL, stuff like that. So there was a new thing. And when someone who was something like a coach, it was a strange thing for someone who teaches stuff like that to be, came to us, it made perfect sense. Like it's the first time that all of the problems that I had as a manager and as a team member totally came into place. Like, as a manager, you never know what's going on in the team. So, and as a developer, I remember my worst experience was a manager going behind my back and asking, well, how are you doing? Well, what are you doing now? Or if I'm in the middle of something, that there's something else more urgent that needs to be done now. And like when a manager comes into the room, you want to disappear, right? So as I knew both perspectives, there was suddenly something that made sense from both sides. It was magic, really.
Like so this coach was introducing Agile or Scrum, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, this coach was introducing something called Scrum, and I guess we'll talk about it, but Scrum is a tool to build agility, right? There's no coach, no one teaches you hammer usage, right? People teach you how to be a carpenter.
Indeed.
But they teach you by saying, hold this hammer like this and knock on the nail. Okay, so I don't think there's a coach who teaches Scrum without teaching agility. I hope not, anyway. So it was really love in first sight, like just the fact that someone finally asked us how much time will it take instead of telling us how much time it should take. That every day we talk in a meeting which is for us and not for someone else. It's magic, like really. And slowly we got into more discovering ceremonies, discovering that it's not a magic solution for anything. Also, there was the challenge. We were part of a Scrum team which worked with another Scrum team in Israel. So there's one in France, one in Israel. And every day we had a stand-up by video.
And that was new, I'm guessing.
Yes, so we worked theoretically between the two countries, but the communication was really hard. Like, the communication was through emails, through managers talking to managers in the other side.
Yeah. And that's really one of the powerful aspects of Agile, right? It is about enabling teams to succeed. I very often come back to that phrase that the goal of Agile is enabling teams to succeed, because at the end of the day, we ship software, we don't ship PowerPoint presentations or documents.
I would say even more than this, we don't ship software, we ship functionality, we ship impact. Software is the concrete manifestation of this.
So let's dive into the idea of Agile adoption, and perhaps one of those stories, Dov, where you as a Scrum Master, you tried your best, but your best just wasn't good enough at that point. We do want to explore these stories of difficult moments, of failures as Scrum Masters, because we understand that helps us all learn and become better at what we do. So share that story with us, Dov.
Yeah. So as you prepared me, I picked one, and in fact, I can go already to the punchline. Don't apply Scrum as a magic solution when the team is not professional enough. Don't apply Scrum when there's no purpose, when the politics is too hard. Okay, so I think it was my second post as a Scrum Master, and I became this thing called Scrum Master. And again, every time at that time, I have to sell myself. They search for a team lead, a project manager, whatever, and I sell myself as a Scrum Master. And a product that has something like 7 people that is bought by another company. And now we sit in the middle of a big company and we are an island, and I'm trying to implement Scrum. And the people are, one, afraid because being in a new place and where the mindset is totally different than your team is hard. Two, they're not professional. Like the software is badly made, which makes fear even bigger.
So you're trying to implement Scrum in a team that just got acquired by another company, and you're seeing these challenges, right? Like you're trying to help this team, but there's all of these other things around. So you mentioned a couple of them. You mentioned in the intro the politics, and now you talked about the software just wasn't well produced. What else? What were the challenges that you were observing as a Scrum Master in that situation?
Yeah. Another challenge is that even though I was assigned to do Scrum, there was no real product owner. So the team had a product that doesn't fall well with the mission of the company that bought it. Like it was a, I'd say it's a bad sell. So someone pretended that the product is what it isn't. And when you find this out with people who use slightly different technology, totally different infrastructure, and a different mindset, it's not the place to implement agility and transparency because there's no background, there's no fertile ground for it.
So when you say fertile ground, what do you mean in practice?
What do I mean in practice? When we do the stand-up and we go to a room, everyone else looks at us strangely, including the people in the room. Okay, so there is a force for the team to do what they do. It's not something that comes from the team. Even if 2 people in the team said they did Agile, like quote unquote before, there was no understanding in the team of what agility can bring. And in fact, at the end, what they needed was a total rewrite of the product. So the whole product had to be redesigned and they couldn't do it. So it's like chasing the tail.
So if you go back to that position, let's say you have a magic time machine and you can go back to that place as a Scrum Master, what would you do today?
Yeah, so in fact, one thing that I did, which is what I would do, is to say we stop. We don't do Scrum. And what I did is rolled up my sleeves, and I think that was the last time that I was seriously a developer. So like I rolled back my sleeves, and I just started fixing bugs and refactoring, and no more ceremonies that hold no real value. Plus a big reshuffle in the team, but like this is politics. What I'm trying to say is Scrum is not a magical solution when the core is bad. Scrum is a way, like you can have fertile ground, but if you plant seeds that don't sprout, they will not sprout even in fertile ground.
Absolutely. And for us as Scrum Masters, perhaps one of the key takeaways for me from this story is that we need to assess whether the current challenge that the team is facing is even one that process could help with, because some challenges are impossible to fix no matter what process you try to implement.
Yes. So like on a deeper level, if I would have known that, I wouldn't sell Scrum to this manager, and perhaps I wouldn't have gotten the job. Yeah, everything would be different. You can't cross the same river twice. When I thought about this question, so like this is the big story, but I wrote a few other things that I can give you sound bites of other mistakes. And again, this is a big dramatic story for me. There's a lot of things that I learned along the way. So sometimes I think I was too forceful. Like I insist on doing something when the team resists, don't. Okay. Other times, and it's interesting because like I thought about this, and I thought about roles that I did one after the other. Sometimes I'm not forceful enough. So sometimes I say, okay, I sit back and I let the team come to me. And if they're not grown up enough, they won't come. And I have something to say about this grown up. I'll tell you after I talk about this. Another error that I did, and I see a lot of Scrum Masters doing now, they think that the role is to do what one of my teams that I work with now calls agile games. So to be playful with no purpose. And it doesn't suit everyone. And before you choose, one, to be playful, and two, what sort of play do you play? Ask yourself, one, what do I want to achieve? And two, does it suit this specific team in this specific time and place?
Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests help their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.